Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Last night, the County Council voted with a 6-to-1 vote to remove the salaries for 3 imperative positions, 2 of which are currently occupied. This is just another vindictive measure taken by the County Council to tie the hands of the executive branch, and there are several issues with their decision last night. Number 1, per the county attorney, the 2 individuals that occupy 2 out of 3 positions are valid employees, and until a court decision says differently, they are to remain in such positions. As I stated during the public hearing, defunding these positions is a form of termination, which the council has no ability or right to do so, and this is a direct violation of our county charter. This also hurts the continued efforts of recruitment and retainment for our employees. If the County Council is able to abuse their power and zero out employees, where does it stop? If we cannot allow the council to be able, we cannot allow the council to be able to do this, and it is essentially firing them by a simple budget amendment. And the last thing, numerous stakeholders made their appearance last night stating their dissatisfaction with this decision. Stakeholders that included past employees, municipal leaders, real estate leaders, business owners, and concerned citizens. Unfortunately, their concerns as well fell on deaf ears. This is yet another example where the faith in the County Council has diminished amongst our community. As I briefly mentioned last night, I emailed all members of the County Council on Monday as a last-ditch effort to try to resolve this issue without litigation. And just until about an hour ago, not one council member had even bothered to respond. The response I don't have in front of me was basically saying, there's no new information, and so we're not changing our stance. But the letter stated, Wacomico County Council, we have both had the opportunity to vent some anger over the disagreement in the appointments of Matt Leitzel and Heather Langford. I believe now is the time to move past this and improve our working relationship. We were very excited to submit Matt Leitzel for the position of Assistant Director of Administration. His training, experience, and personality checked all the boxes I needed to round out my executive leadership team. When you never voted, we assumed that you may be taking a stance of indifference and intended to force us to wait the 45 days before his appointment would stand approved. I now know that this caught you by surprise and we were having differing interpretations of the charter's language. The fact is, if you grammatically deconstruct the language regarding the 45 days, it places the burden on the council to vote in legislative session 45 days following my submission. Council's past practice supports my interpretation since my office has no control over the council's agenda. We submit the name for an appointment, which starts the 45-day clock, and then the council decides whether to place the appointment in legislative, work, or closed session. In order to move forward, I propose council agree to accept Mr. Leitzel as approved in the position of Assistant Director of Administration. He has been working for a month now and has exceeded our expectations. His prerequisite knowledge, his character, and his work ethic will continue to be an asset for this county. If you can move past your anger, I believe you will also see that he is a great fit for this position. Further, we can come together to create a process for future appointments that removes any ambiguity. Regarding Heather Langford in the position of Acting Director, Deputy Director of Public Works, we are actively looking to fill the position of Director of Public Works. We believe, and the council has previously stated that Ms. Langford would be a suitable candidate for Deputy Director. While we are working hard to fill the position of Director, the fact remains that we absolutely need someone in the position that can keep the Public Works Department on course. We have no obligation to seek council approval for the acting deputy director position, and our intent is to keep Ms. Langford in an acting position as deputy director until we are able to fill the director position. Once the director position is filled, we would consider formally submitting Ms. Langford for the position of deputy director. I sincerely hope that you take this letter into consideration, and I would like to think that the council would prefer this matter stay out of the court system. If you choose to ignore this letter, then the executive office will be forced to continue with our legal course of action. Thank you for your time and consideration. So, what are the next steps? Based on all the above information, the council has left me no choice. As of 12:30 p.m., I filed a writ of mandamus, which will compel the county council to appoint me an attorney so we can settle this personnel matter. We have also filed a motion to shorten the time. This is simply just step one of a much longer process. What is extremely frustrating is the misinformation from the county council from these very seats last night. There were so many things said last night that were simply untrue. First and foremost, Mr. Wilbur is the county attorney. He is not the executive's attorney. The council does not get to dictate the ethical component of this matter. Mr. Wilbur has stated that he is conflicted and therefore the executive will need an attorney. And as you all saw on the July 18th meeting, council once again did not vote on the legislation, and here we wait. Secondly, both candidates are extremely qualified, and what the council seems to forget is that this is my administration, not theirs. Ms. Langford is a 16-year engineer, and Mr. Leitzel not only has 23 years of law enforcement, he also was a teacher for 5 years, a small business owner, worked with budgeting, human resources, and policy making. Mr. Leitzel fills a gap in knowledge that can only benefit the county. Mr. Luffman has a background in water and wastewater, planning and zoning, DNR, and many other municipal issues. I have extensive knowledge in education, public relations, marketing, and human resources. The very piece that was missing was a public safety component focusing on our areas of corrections, emergency services, police accountability, and IT. Public safety is the #1 concern of our citizens, and I am compelled as the county executive to adhere to their concerns. I understand Mr. Cannon wants someone with a public works background, but this is not Mr. Cannon's administration. It's Julie Giordano's. And what I need is not what he needs. My strengths and weaknesses are not his. And lastly, the council's biggest argument is that I did not submit these appointments in legislative session. What you may not know about that is that I am not allowed to submit names in legislative session. I cannot compel the council to put things on an agenda, nor can I dictate what session it falls under. That is solely under the dictatorship of the council president. I can name numerous times where I have asked for things in closed session and he puts them in open. I've asked for things with a resolution and council president has made it a work session. I submitted Matt Leitzel on April 4th. Through the mandated council's process, he was interviewed in closed session. And afterwards, an email stating no consensus came to me. But they had not voted to confirm or reject. I asked for there to be a reconsideration, which fell on deaf ears. But what the council neglected to do within the 45 days after submission was to vote to confirm or reject Mr. Leitzel. We feel very strongly about our position, and we'll continue to fight for what we know and the county attorney knows to be right. And at this time, I would take any questions that any of you may have. Yes, Greg.
What is the difference? What process that was different with Mr. Leitzel than with Mr. Luffman? He was approved fine. What steps did you take to get Mr. Luffman hired that you did or did not take with Mr. Leitzel?
I submitted Mr. Leitzel and Mr. Luffman the exact same way. So I submitted them. So the whole process takes a month for the county council. So when I submit someone, I have to, this is why the at legislative session doesn't really work in this case. And the council only does that when it's convenient for them. So at legislative session would mean I would have to walk in legislative session and say, here's my submission. According to council, I have to have things to them 2 weeks prior. So our next council meeting is September 5th. No, we're only beginning of August. So we have August, 15th? I have to have things in today for it to be on the August 15th meeting. So 2 weeks in advance. So I submit, they dictate how appointments are done. And I have asked for things to be in open session. Tim Bosman, I asked for open session. They denied it and said it has to be in closed. So this is their process. So if their process violates the charter, they're kind of creating an unnecessary step of this closed session. So, and that's what seems to be, is that they're only focusing on, I guess it's, I would submit, and then they meet him, and then I have to submit again, and then a resolution comes over, and then they vote on it. So right now, I'm feeling that their argument is that the executive did not provide the legislators the legislation to legislate. And if that's their argument, I feel very strongly that I don't feel it's my job to create legislation for the legislators to legislate.
And just a quick follow-up, if I may. If you go to arbitration or to a court setting, and will you
Oh, of course. Absolutely, yes.
You want to appeal?
I don't think so. I mean, I think at that point in time, if a judge kind of rules at that point, I don't even know where that would appeal to.
Right.
At that point, and the question still remains is, we went over this afternoon to the courts. They still have to agree to hear it. So there's that as well. So, there's a lot of moving components with it. So, but yes, whatever the judge decided, we would adhere to.
I'm sorry, just one more. Do you
Yeah.
have an attorney in place now, and who is it?
I do not have an attorney in place because the county council denied me that. So right now, we had put Bill Hudson forward. Perfect, another example. Just sent the legislation over. Really, it's a very weird thing that if I need special counsel, they have to approve it, but it's against them. So they really should have recused themselves, but then it's like, who's going to vote on it? So it's a very convoluted and kind of almost broken system, I think, in that aspect. But we took just the resolution over, and they changed it, wouldn't allow it in legislative session, and dictated that it would be a open work session. So they couldn't come to a consensus, and so here we sit. So the writ of mandamus would compel them to make a decision. So right now, no, I do not have an attorney because Mr. Wilbur will not be doing that because he's ethically conflicted, and the council does not get to dictate his ethics.
And to underscore that, Greg, she filed this morning pro se, which means without an attorney.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So one of the things if these individuals stay in their position after this ordinance was passed, is that they could move for misappropriation of funds if they continue to be paid. First off, how realistic is that option for you? And secondly, what realistically would be your
I would say I think it's a difficult situation because the county attorney is telling them that I'm in the right. So once again, the county attorney works for the council and for the executive. And so for the council to go against their own attorney's words, it's kind of silly. The misappropriation of funds, I don't think it really falls into that. They threaten me with this all the time. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, apparently. They say that I'm doing this. So it's kind of like, the boy who cried wolf at this point in time. But the 2020, I don't know, is that 2020-09?
Yeah, the 20. Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually, there was legislation that was passed that's actually very questionable because when you pass legislation that literally violates the charter, the legislation should be invalid at this point in time. So we're actually getting an AG opinion on that as well. So it's not that I don't want to answer your question. I just don't know how that's going to fall. Do you?
Well, and to be clear, what they passed last night is not in effect today.
Right.
What they passed last night goes to the executive's desk where she'll decide whether to sign or veto it. I'm sure you can guess which that would be. Mm-hmm. And then it would go back to them and they would consider whether they would want to override or veto. And assuming that happened, then it still wouldn't take effect for 60 days. So we're talking multiple months before this would potentially become an effective piece of legislation.
Yeah, which is why we did the court to kind of move things a little bit faster. So I think it would probably be the PR optics. I mean, obviously, based on the amount of stakeholders that came out, PR optics don't seem to really be a concern for the council. So, but I would think that once they are served their papers, that they would try to move on this. Grant me the attorney. Let's get this thing because once it's heard, it's done. You know what I mean? So I don't know why we're trying to slow roll this. So I would rather just, we were kind of waiting to see, are they going to vote on the attorney? They didn't put it on the agenda. So again, and this is another, thing to your point, Greg. So I have a resolution that I sent over that they could just sit on. They could just choose not to vote on it, and that's what they're doing right now. So that is why it's so hard for me to understand that the 45-day clock doesn't start till they get a resolution. You know what I mean? Because then the council president would have the ability to make it never go on the agenda, and the 45-day clock would never start. So why even have the 45 days? So once this, and that's what our attorney was arguing, is that the submission is made, and you can look up any submission. I mean, a submission made by the president, by the governor, the submission is made. The process is then in the hands of the council. The council is the one that determines that they want the closed session. And that's what I think was so frustrating last night, was that it was said that they granted me some sort, we did that for her, and it's it wasn't for me, it's your process, because that's what I was told, that my people would have rather have been in open session and had it voted on that day and not waited a month. Our health officer was a perfect example. We introduced him, they made it in closed session. The state was kind of hurrying us like, hey, can you please get us this name? And we were on their time clock. And we were 2 weeks later because they said, nope, we're not gonna do it. We have to do this way. Closed session, and then we'll vote on them. And just the vote, never happened with Mr. Leitzel, and that's part of their job.
So then the 60 days, is that for a vote for Mr. Leitzel to continue working for the county?
So the 60 days is when the legislation of defunding the position would take place. So we still have, I have 21 days to either, accept or veto the bill, sign it or, veto the bill. And then after that, if I veto it, they would have to come back with a supermajority, which based on the votes last night, I would assume that they would have. And then once the supermajority happens, then it's 60 days, and then the legislation would go into place. So we're trying to get all of this taken care of before the legislation is put into place, so we don't have to worry about looking at, is it misappropriation of funds or not? So we're trying to get this taken care of before then, which is such a shame, and that's why I think that we were trying to really push, and that's why I said, would you be, table this? Can you table at least this piece so we can get this worked out? Because they're kind of stonewalling, you know what I mean? They're trying to go around the system, and it's like, hey, look, we just disagree on the way this interpretation is. I don't think it's wrong to go next door and say, hey, can you decipher this? Like, she feels this way, they feel this way. Can we get an outside opinion? And, they're doing everything in their power to avoid that, so.
So then, is there anything that could happen in the next, let's say, month or so that would make it so that you don't feel the need to go to court and bring this in front of a judge?
I mean, based on history, including last night, I mean, that's a question better asked to the county council president and the county council. I mean, they are the one who set us on this course. We were following the county attorney, not the county executive attorney, but the county attorney's opinion, and they are not. So we're following the process, we're following the charter, we're following the opinion of the county attorney. The county council is not. So they're the ones who set us on this process. So I think that would be a question for them.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, too, and I don't want to, we've tried to keep our cards very close at this point in time, but there are a lot of contradictory things when it comes to appointments. There hasn't been a set process, and it seems to change no matter who the executive is if you look at past history. This closed-door interview did not happen with Mr. Culver. It didn't seem that way. When I talked to Mr. Strasberg, this is something, I don't know if this is something that they just did for me or whatever the case may be, but when you're making the rules and changing the rules as you go, you don't get to go back to the beginning and say, well, these were the original rules, right, but you changed them as we went through this. And so that's what we've kind of saw. There was a particular situation where only the resolution went over, the very thing that they said is the submission, and the very two council people were sitting right up here and stated, this isn't a resolution, or this isn't a submission. Having the resolution is not a submission. We didn't meet her. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say that I didn't submit him when I did the very thing that they said wasn't done for the previous person, if you see what I'm saying. So again, there's a lot of history there where there's not a concise, really, this is how we're going to do it. If we want to always do a closed session where there's an interview, the charter should state that. And that's kind of our point is I did the submission. Their job is to confirm or reject within 45 days. And they did not do that.
And last night I pointed something out. It just happenstance. So there was a committee appointment last night with the health officer going as an ex officio member. Earlier this year, when we had an acting health officer, the council put that immediately on consent agenda. I'm not aware that they did any interview, what have you. This agenda, we submitted it the same way we did Ms. Wink, and they had me in a panel, by myself, and then Mr. McConaughey on a separate panel. That was not done in February when we did the previous one. So that just shows you evidence of how they have changed and they change appointments. Exact same role. This person's going to become an ex officio member of the committee, 2 different people, in the same role, going through the same committee, 2 different processes. And so this is why the county executive's letter to the council a couple days ago was like, hey, let's put this aside. We're acting in good faith on this. We agree with the county attorney, but can we come together and sort of get through the minutia of this and come up with a process that works? And apparently their silence to me means they reject that offer.
And at the end of the day, when you look at what we're trying to do, I think a lot of people have it in their mind that, oh, here she is hiring her friends and just bringing these people in. And I really am not sure if a lot of people know how appointments work, but I'm pretty sure that with the governor and president, they're pretty decent with each other. They have a good relationship with the people that they bring in. But Mr. Leitzel is actually, I never met him. I never met the man. I had an idea for the assistant director of administration, and like I said last night, it was turned down. I wanted to do the executive advisor of public safety, turned down. I wanted to make it that the person didn't have to have a bachelor's degree, turned down. I wanted a legislative aide, turned down. I wanted a public information officer, turned down. They've tried to, I wanted to have Dan Cox as special counsel, turned down. I wanted to have now Bill Hudson as my attorney, turned down. Every single thing that I have needed to make my office successful has been turned down by this council. And then it's very hard for me to sit in the audience, which I know some of you heard last night, but it was very hard for me to sit here and say that, how is it not personal? You literally are taking away every tool that I need to be successful. Why? Why? And at the end of the day, what are we doing here? The man is sitting right here in this room and has a bachelor's degree in education, working on a master's degree in organizational psychology. I tease Bunky, he's got more experience than he does. I should be, kicking Bunky out, but no, I'm just teasing. But the point is that we're not arguing about somebody that is just Joe Schmo off the street with no experience. We're talking about somebody that is a 23-year law enforcement officer, started as a patrolman, worked all the way up to chief, captain, and, oversaw human resources and policy and all these things, and literally could have been hired as a consultant to come in and work with dysfunctional governments, to help them. And so at the end of the day, we are trying our hardest to fill these roles. And what I don't understand is why the pushback in my office? Why? And to sit here and say, we've approved 33 out of 35. First of all, 20 of them, they never even met the people. They were volunteer positions on boards. They're what Annapolis calls green bag appointments. They never even met the people. So that brings us down to 15. 15 people. 9 of them were reappointments of people who already worked here. So now we're down to 6 people. Okay, 2 of those already worked here but just weren't official in the role. The 2 emergency services people, I put those in the role. I replaced human resources with somebody where the position was vacant. I filled the director of administration, which was vacant. And the only person that I filled where there was a switch out was the warden, was the director of corrections. So for them to sit there and say, well, we've approved 33, yes, but you have turned down every single thing that I have said I need to be successful. And my question last night was, why don't you want the executive to be successful? Why? Why would you not give me the tools? Because here's the deal. If I don't have what I need and I fail, whose fault is that? They didn't give me the tools I asked for. If I have the tools I need and I fail, that's on me. So here we are in this combative thing. And when you have council members saying, well, we don't like the executive form of government, we'd rather go back to, the council form of government, or the commissioner form of government. I mean, how could that not be personal? And so that's what is so frustrating. And so the argument here is there are 2 people highly qualified, and right now I have to have somebody overseeing public works. I have to. There's not really a choice. But next Tuesday, we do have an interview for a director of public works, so hopefully that person will come in. I don't know how I can offer him a salary right now, so I don't know how that's even going to work, but we'll see what happens, because I'm not sure, because we're kind of in that limbo period, so we'll see what happens. But again, I really hope that we can move on. Once we're done all this, I really do. I really want to work with the council. I've known some of these people for a long time. You've known a bunch of them for a really long time. You know, I have a lot of things going on. We had like a crisis at the landfill. We have a fire service agreement. We have all these things that we're dealing with on a daily basis. And I literally in the background have all of this going on all the time. And the thing is that would it be easier for me to say, you know what, I'm done. I'm not going to fight them. I'm just going to give up. It is what it is. You know, if I would to say, you know, Matt, you're no longer here. Heather, you're back down to the engineer position. I could do that. But then it's going to be something else in the next week. It'll be something else because they fight me on every single thing that I have put forward. Every single thing. There has been nothing that has been easy when it came to this. And so I really hope that I hate going down this route. I really do. I really do. Because some of these people up here I considered friends. I really did. And it's very hard. It's hard in this role. You know, to have to, you know, deal with the county on the daily basis and all the problems that we're having and fixing this and fixing that and making decisions. And in the meantime, here I have, you know, the council just sending me letters every other Friday like, hey, you're doing this wrong or hey, you're doing this wrong. You know, I used to open my doors to council members. Come in and like, you know, see, you know, and you know, talk to me. What are some issues going on? And then that slowly kind of, you know, faded out. But they don't call me. They don't talk to me. They don't email me. You know, so it's just, it's a very frustrating time, and I really hope that we can get through this whatever way it goes. But at the end of the day, I am trying to fill positions that have been vacant for a while, and we are trying to make Wicomico County better. And these people are put into place because they are the tools that I need to be successful. It's not John Cannon's, it's not his it's not his administration. It's not Joe Holloway's administration. It's not Shane Baker's administration. It's not Shaney Shields. It's mine. These are the tools that I need to be successful. And I really wish that they would see that and stop fighting me, you know, on that. So.
And the county executive was voted in, you know, and it wasn't close. I mean, the people of our county voted her in to be the executive and run the executive branch. So, and I would think, given, you know, the public input last night, is the citizens of Wicomico County really feel strongly she should be able to pick her team.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Sorry, I feel like I poured my heart out at the end, you know, there, so get a little, you know, but I really hope, like I said, we can move on from this. I really do. Again, we feel very strongly about our position. I feel like, you know, you play the cards that you're dealt, and then it's like, oh, but I don't know, but we're changing the rules, and we're doing this and doing that, and sometimes we don't even know the rules of the game, and they're, you know, they're not the same from what they were 2 years ago, and so we're really trying to get that consistency. And so if there is a process that council would like to talk about as to how we should do these appointments from here on out and keep it consistent, I would definitely be more than happy to do so, because like I said, they've changed, you know, throughout the years and throughout even my, you know, in my 7 months. So. Thank you. And if you didn't get a packet, all of the information is over here. So if you would like a copy of the writ of mandamus, or if you would like a copy of anything, it's there. Please feel free to take it. They are filed with the court, but you're more than welcome to take your own copy. Thank you very much.